With all of the endgame changes that came with the Return of the Ancients, everyone's wondering, what's the best farming method? It's currently week 2, going on week 3 of the league, and I've been testing all of the different mechanics, trying to figure out which is the most efficient and enjoyable. So far, it has been Delirium and Ritual that have shown the best results for me, while providing a relaxed but engaging gameplay loop. Abyss is still amazing, but it gets annoying constantly pulling mobs out of the gas, even though they made it much easier to do so, and as for Temple, I gave it a shot, but playing Minecraft and Path of Exile just isn't my thing. Breach is cool, but when my dopamine hits come from a tree, it gets old after some time. Expedition is actually quite intriguing, and I do enjoy it, however it just doesn't produce profits compared to the others in terms of time invested, but the occasional few divines from a standard remnant since it's the league mechanic is quite nice. With all of that being said, let's hop into the details of how I farm. For this method, we will be targeting high value omens along with high value emotions, and that may seem like a weird combination because Delirium is known for juicing monsters, making them much more difficult, leading to more valuable loot, and they have no effect on ritual windows. However, Delirium has new emotions this patch that can only be obtained from bosses, and since you can fight a consistent amount of bosses in the Rite of the Nameless from ritual, you can actually have your rituals reward you these high value emotions. Now, that may seem confusing, so let's start with the Atlas, but before I do want to state that this is for tier 15 waystones and above, and you will need a decent character because farming Delirium can be quite difficult as the monsters get increased toughness, making them very tanky. Let's start with Delirium. When starting at the Ziggurat Refuge, you will travel southwest until you find the Withered Willow. Once you're at the Withered Willow, you will speak to Elder Maddox, who will give you steps to complete the Delirium quest, where you will learn the Delirium mechanics and fight the new pinnacle boss, but the basics are as follows. Complete a map while Delirium is active for a chance to spawn a Grand Mirror on a nearby map. Once you complete the Grand Mirror, you can then select a map to spawn Delirium Fog on a group of maps. These new maps with Delirium Fog will have Delirium active all the time regardless of what tablets you are using, and will have a progress bar from 0 to 200%, which is the difficulty of the area. As the number goes up, monsters get stronger and more difficult. Once you are at 100%, you can run the Simulacrum that spawned from the frog. The Simulacrum is a 7-way fight that has specific loot that we'll talk about a little bit later, but from there, it's basically rinse and repeat from this point, but you'll get some rewards from the Simulacrum that will allow you to fight the pinnacle boss whenever you want. Now that we've gone over the basics for Delirium, let's talk about how we can use it to farm. This is my Delirium Atlas tree, and we can see that I have all of the passive points. However, there are only a few that actually matter. The first being, you can't scare me anymore. It reads, unique monsters have a chance to drop potent emotions when slain within Delirium Fog. What this actually means is bosses affected by Delirium. That means if you run a map with Delirium Fog or Delirium in general, each boss you kill has a 5% chance to drop one of these potent emotions based off of what type of boss they are. Currently, beasts and constructs drop ferocity and contempt, and they're worth about 3 to 4 divines for ferocity, and contempt is worth about 8 divines, so they're worth quite a bit of currency. The catch is that these drop from bosses, and there's not that many bosses in a map, but if you've seen clips already of ritual, you can fight up to 5 to 8 bosses in one ritual, and these will count towards these potent emotions. So with this method, we'll be trying to get as many bosses in the map as possible at one time while still farming ritual. The next important notable is, are you sure you want to do that? It reads, tablets have double effect in areas with a Grand Mirror. This is super beneficial to us because we'll be spawning a ton of Grand Mirrors while we're traveling to different locations, and having double effects on something like a city map where you have 4 tablets is one of the strongest things in the game. The next is I Know Your Childhood Fears. 25% increased liquid emotions dropped by monsters, and then liquid emotions found have a 20% chance to be ancient liquid emotions. Some of the ancient liquid emotions are worth quite a bit of currency as well. These are the 3 main notables that you want to get. When you're first starting out, you'll definitely want to grab this Is This About Me or You notable because it allows you to get Simulacrum splinters. A lot of people are wondering why they are not getting any Simulacrum splinters, but you need this notable in order to get them at all. So definitely pick this up when you're first starting your Delirium quest. As for the regular Atlas passives, if you have all of the Atlas points, great. If you don't, it's not that big of a deal. At the time of recording this video, I've only killed Arbiter of Divinity twice. I currently have the currency to fight him more, I'm just waiting until I find the towers myself to just fight them naturally, but you don't need all of them for this to be successful, and I'll run a map with this Atlas near the end of the video. But what we're prioritizing is summoning circles. Now that may seem weird, but the more summoning circles you have means the more bosses, which means the more potent emotions. Therefore, you can just go to the top of the search screen and type in summon, and you'll be able to see all of the different options. So I have the 100% increased chance of certain content type, summoning circles, additional content for powerful map bosses, summoning circle, all of the different summoning circle options here. I have them as powerful, which is great. Anything that gives me summoning circles is also great. And then if we scroll up a little bit, we've got all of these, summoning circles. So anything with a summoning circle is what I have, and that's best in slot. As for the rest, you can kind of go with off what you want. Rarity, rare monsters is great, but summoning circles will be your priority, and those will be the main ones you want to change. I have increased quantity of tablets found. You could obviously put rarity of items here. This is all preference. Just prioritize summoning circles, as this will increase the amount of bosses you come across map by map. If you're unsure of how to get all the way up here on the Atlas tree, you just have to fight Arbiter of Ash. Once you fight Arbiter of Ash, you then have to complete Arbiter of Divinity. This is located in the fortress, which will be to the northeast of the Ziggurat Refuge. And I'm sure most of everybody is familiar with this point, but this allows you to get 4 modifier tablets, which is what you need to farm and really juice consistently, and is the most prioritized. As for the Ritual Atlas tree, you're going to make sure you want to have all of these points. If you're unfamiliar with how to start the Ritual quest line, you just have to travel to the west of the Ziggurat Refuge in order to go to Kar Tarth, where you will complete the quest line. This quest line is more straightforward than Delirium, so I will not go into any details regarding it. The only options are these ones, and you can copy them if you would like, but it's totally preference. Now for the method, I'll start with the end game goal, which is this. You can see I have all of these maps that have the Delirium Fog, and then I have the Rite of the Nameless on these Delirium Fog maps. In this case, it happens to be a city area, but you can do whichever area you like. It can be a Jaded Isles. You're traveling to wherever you want, and I'll get into the travel maps because that's what really makes this farming strategy good. But when you're completing these Rite of the Nameless maps, since they have the Delirium Fog on them, you will unlock the Simulacrums once you get to 100%, as well as you will start to get potent liquid emotions when completing your rituals, because those are bosses. For the tablet setup, I like to run the Freedom of the Faith, along with 1 additional rerolls. This is quite expensive. These are about 15 divines. I also like to have the additional summoning circle because it doesn't cost anything extra. And then I have one that has the decreased deferring and rerolling costs. So these would be the 3 tablets that I would run. If you have a 4 tablet setup, you can have another additional rerolls if you can afford it, or just run another deferring or grant increased tribute. Any of these are great. You do not need the additional rerolls for this method to be successful, as you will still get a lot of currency, especially from these emotions. But from there, it's basically a standard setup. You just run the ritual normally, defer those high value omens, you'll get those liquid emotions, and you complete the entire map, and I'll complete a map near the end of the video. For the Atlas Masters, I am larking Jado, so I have the unexpected missions along with unforeseen threats and long days and partial translations. You can definitely run Eastern Knowledge and take off unforeseen threats. I just have unforeseen threats on because I like to have those anomaly maps appear so I can just travel to different areas and try to unlock them as a bonus, because it can get quite boring just doing the same content over and over, which is also good for this. Doryani is also a very valid Atlas Master that you can use. I definitely have tried him a few times and it's very, very good and not that big of a difference. So if you want to give Doryani a try, definitely do so. The increased cleanse or corrupted areas, as well as the increased prefix modifiers, is quite nice, and you'll get more fracturing orbs, and I think those are worth about 4 to 5 divines now. So if you want to try Doryani, definitely give that a shot. That's pretty much it for the Atlas Masters. Now the main difference comes with traveling maps. So for maps where I'm just traveling to a specific area, let's just look around and I'll cut to a quick scene. Let's see. Let's say I'm traveling to this audience with the king right up here, and I have this map here. So the tablet setup that I would run is not a standard ritual setup. There's 2 that you can run. You can run a full Delirium setup if you like, because that will spawn more grand mirrors, giving you those double tablet effects. However, if you're someone who likes to self-sustain those heads of the kings and you like to fight the king of the mist yourself, I like to run 1 Delirium, and then I like to have 2 rituals. So I just have the Delirium. You can either have it have the increased Simulacrum splinters, The unique bosses is very valuable because those can drop those liquid emotions again. But then I just run the deferred, and then I typically just run whatever I have. I don't run the additional reroll. I'll just run something like this. So this would be something that I would run for a travel map. I have just these. If you have the unique bosses, any additional summoning circles is also great. So if you can get those increased, that's also very beneficial. But I just like to travel, get these maps done with as much as possible. I'm just trying to get my audience with the kings so I can fight the King of the Mist. The other travel tablet setup you can use is 2 Delirium tablets along with 1 ritual tablet, and you're prioritizing as many summoning circles as possible along with those increased chances for those unique bosses because this will spawn those liquid emotions. This is definitely more efficient than the initial travel tablet setup I have, and these tablets are quite cheap so you can pick them up if you're playing trade. I just don't really have them a lot. Sometimes I like to just self-sustain with the tablets that I personally have, but if you just want to take the time and go buy those tablets, you definitely can do that, and this is more efficient, and you will spawn more grand mirrors because the more Delirium tablets you have, the more likely a grand mirror is to spawn, giving you those double tablet effects. So this is more efficient. I'm going to run a quick travel map just so you can see, and I can show it as an example really quick. I just need to get some orbs of alchemy and stuff. So for a travel map, I typically just run any of my bricked waystones that have modifiers that I don't want to run on them, and then I traverse it, and we just get into the map, and you just want to run through it as fast as possible. If you come across the summoning circle, great. If you don't, no big deal. And I only do these Verisium things if they, have good rewards. Like this was 3 Divines, which is just very uncommon, so that's super nice. But I don't do these unless they're good rewards. So if they happen to be something that's good, I'll do it. But if not, it's not worth your time. So that's a great example right there. Just in a travel map, we can see that we got that potent emotion, which is super, super good from one of those bosses. And this is just in a travel map, so that's exactly why I love to do it. We had that summoning circle spawn on the ritual, which is just so good. In a travel map, I just made, you know, obviously the Verisium encounter was super lucky, but that one travel map is, you know, 3-4 divines. So if I was to, you know, run 4 of these maps and I just get one of those, that's a divine a map. So I will say it does make the maps last a little bit longer since you are running ritual, but that's just kind of how it goes when you're trying to, you know, have those, you know, get your own tributes and stuff. You could obviously skip this entirely and just buy Heads of the Kings and just keep running Rite of the Nameless back to back to back. I like to self-sustain a little bit. I like to fight the King of the Mist. He's got some good rewards, like from nothing diamonds. Those unidentified sell for about 12 divs. Alright, so that's the entire map. Get your Simulacrum splinters. And then I just reroll really quick, see if we get anything good. Alright, nothing good. Offer the tribute to the king. And that's it for a travel map. Not the fastest, but not the slowest, but reward is good. Eventually, a Grand Mirror will spawn in the surrounding area, and you can path to the Grand Mirror to get those double tablet effects, as well as it more than likely will spawn to wherever you're going. So I'll probably get some Grand Mirrors on my way to this audience with the King. Once you get your Heads of the King, then you set up that Delirium Fog. So I'm just going to go back up here, and now we're going to run a map with that Delirium Fog. This isn't going to be the fully juiced one because it's just going to be my first Rite of the Nameless, but it will give you guys a realistic expectation of just what a normal map looks like with doing this strat. So let's just take these tablets out really quick. Put in my Freedom of the Faith, additional rerolls, and then let's see if we got any decent maps on us. All right, let's corrupt this one really quick. Amazing. Alright, so for these Rite of the Nameless maps, you want to kill the boss first before even starting the rituals. This is so the bosses will spawn in those ritual tablet. Apologies, not ritual tablets. Just it will spawn in those rituals. You just want to run to the end as soon as you can, fast as possible, kill the boss, then do the rituals. You can see we've got the effectiveness going up. We've got the 18% for the Delirium Fog. Once it gets to 100%, I will unlock the Simulacrum. And as it goes up, the better the rewards will get from these monsters as well. You can see I'm running by those mirror shards unless it's a red one. If it's a red one, then I will do it. I typically do not do the Loathsome Mires as well. I just don't think it's worth my time, honestly. But you can if you want to.
You are truly a glutton for punishment.
Dream Fragments is very nice. Nothing really that good. You could obviously run those expedition encounters. I saw the rare unique item, but I'm not really too concerned about it, honestly.
Where were you planning on keeping that?
See, we had that boss spawn. So every time we kill him, we have a chance at getting one of those potent liquid emotions. Depending on which boss it is, will depend on which potent emotion you can get. It's kind of hard to target which ones, so you just kind of hope. But it's a 1 out of 20 chance. So every 20 bosses, you can expect to get one. And this is just the first Rite of the Nameless, so I'm not killing that many bosses. But even in this map alone, I've killed probably, four bosses. So I'm well on my way to my next one already. I'm a fourth of the way there. And then I'm just going to go through these, and I'm just looking for high value omens or high value uniques. It's not a good attack speed on that Sky Sliver. Alright, and we didn't get anything good from the ritual, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. And you can see I'm already at 66% for the Delirium Fog just from this one map alone, and I'm already about to unlock that Simulacrum. So once I complete the Rite of the Nameless, I will definitely have that unlocked, and that is the next step of this farm. Once you're doing this, you will have tons and tons of Simulacrums. We can see I have 2 right here. As I do this Delirium Fog, I will be able to run those Simulacrums. These are super, super juicy for loot because they can drop those Raven's Reflections, and Raven's Reflections allow you to fight that Delirium Pinnacle boss that we talked about earlier, and this can drop some of the most valuable loot in the game. Along with Simulacrum is the only place you can obtain Megalomaniac Jewels as well as Voices. And if you get a 4 Sinister Jewel Voices, I think it's worth like above 5 mirrors, something insane. That is also great for these because you'll be able to run a bunch of Simulacrums. I like to just save them up and just run them back to back to back. So that's what I'll be doing. But Simulacrum is also a very beneficial thing of this farm, and it prevents you from getting bored of just doing the same Rite of the Nameless and just sitting in the shopping sim, because it can be quite boring just going through those screens hoping you get something. But I did get 1 headhunter this league already from Ritual. I've probably gone through a few thousand pages of windows though, so well overdue for the next, but it is what it is. Profits will vary on whether or not you decide to use the expensive reroll tablets. Personally, I don't think it's worth it to use more than 1 of these reroll tablets at this point with the cost, but if you can afford it, in the long run, a Headhunter or Mage Blood will give you more profits, but that takes a lot of time. You can expect on average 3 to 6 high value omens through 1 full Rite of the Nameless, meaning all 6 maps. This doesn't include any of the rare uniques that you might get, because this completely varies and isn't totally up to RNG. You can also expect to get around 1 potent emotion during those Rite of the Nameless. It really varies on which potent emotion you will get because of the bosses that you're killing, because Melancholy isn't really worth anything, but on average the farm is about 20 to 30 divines on the low end per hour if you're running maps in the 7 to 10 minute range. That's the entirety of the farming method. It's basically combining Ritual and Delirium together in the most efficient way. In addition, those travel maps having consistent returns is huge in consistently making currency over your playtime. I will leave a full detailed explanation in the description along with any trade links and information I think that would be useful to you. I will also leave a link to my PoE Ninja for my current character if you're curious. A little bit of a longer video this time around as I went with a different style, so let me know what you guys think. If I missed anything or you have any questions, leave a comment. As always, I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching. Take it easy, Exiles.